Hello everyone, welcome to Visual Effects 101 Instructional Design Plan. So what is the learner and performance context? Undergraduate film students are not adequately prepared to bring visual effects scenes to life. The system of interest for this class is going to be centered around 5 to 15 students who are going to understand, analyze, and apply visual effects techniques. The learner's context relates to the bigger environment by teaching them how to work in the larger film industry, work with other people, and be resourceful for when visual effects problems arise. The needs. The students do not remember the proper terminology when communicating their needs to create a visual effect. Students are unable to open a visual effects program and look confused when they try and locate and recognize icons. The students do not understand any aspects of film, lighting, or sound, and do not know how to set up a green screen. Goals. Students will have an effective understanding of the post-production process. Students will understand the subtle differences in fields between special and visual effects because they lack knowledge of industry jargon. Students will be able to operate within a visual effects environment utilized on their computer. Students will properly create and light a green screen in order to create a clear background for effects. Students will conceptualize scripts into a visual format for a variety of scenarios. Students will formulate alone and with others to bring a film scene to completion. Content. The first method of collecting data is from students doing their homework every week. This will be a one-page paper on what they learned from the reading. The second method of collecting data is a discussion board post in which they talk about the higher level concepts of post-production and visual effects. The third method of collecting data is from students taking their midterm quiz and final exam, dealing with industry jargon. The fourth method of collecting data is by students creating, turning in, and presenting both a solo and group project. Achievement and ability levels. The beginners for students will come to understand visual effects and the post-production jargon. For intermediate, students will be able to identify and utilize visual effects and film software, and for expert, students will be able to read or create a script and bring the visual effects scene to life. Learners 1. An assessment of prior knowledge should be taken on the introduction discussion board on the first class. This includes the knowledge of visual effects programs, common equipment setups for film, and being able to read a script. Much of the first lecture should focus on prior misconceptions the general public has about the visual effects industry, as well as the general history of how special effects came to be. Many of our students will be comfortable with computers, but for those who aren't, there are ways for them to learn, as well as a host of other positions that the production team needs in order to create a film visual effects product. A student's education and ability level will impact the instruction by offering them a ramp in which they can gain knowledge and then apply that towards a project. Learners 2. Although we do need traditional PowerPoints and textbooks to anchor us down as a foundation, the majority of the class is hands-on in a way to keep students' attention and offer them ways of contributing and applying knowledge. A single teacher will be used as the supervisor. However, power aides can be useful in certain classrooms if they swell to 30 or more. The classroom will preferably be in a studio where students can shoot film on location and in a computer lab where they can work with visual software. Objectives. Students will be able to remember film industry jargon. Students will be able to understand the post-production process. Students will be able to utilize visual effects software. Students will be able to analyze a movie script. And students will be able to assemble a green screen and proper lighting. Assessments 1. Entry-level skills will be tested for the first day with a simple instructional strategy of asking the students what they know about the film industry in one page. If the student does not possess these entry-level skills, then two things should happen. 1. These students should be instructed to pay close attention to the beginning 3 chapters of the textbook because they cover the basics of film production, which they may be review for other students. And 2. If possible, they should be placed into groups of more adept students and periodically checked up on to see that they are acquiring knowledge. Instructional Strategies 1. Students will be grouped into small units of 3 to 4, depending on class size, so that they can complete a film project. The actual deliverable will be submitted in an MP4 format, which can be uploaded to the internet and viewed as a video. The instructional strategies will place the students in situations in which they must use the acquired knowledge of the post-production process. Instructional Strategies 2. Feedback should be given back and forth in a few ways. First, a discussion board should be built so that students can freely ask questions to the teacher. Second, students should be able to take a survey at the end of class in which they will be able to communicate what they like and dislike. Finally, the teachers will often give constructive feedback at the end of each assignment to allow students to know what they did wrong and what they did right. The instructional plan is appropriate for the learners and objectives for this lesson plan because it takes students from start to finish of the post-production process. Instructional Strategies 3. This affects me as a card game that students will play at the end of each class until one player gets 3 correct answers. This instructional strategy will be used to teach film students the technical difference between the special and visual effects industry. The teacher first creates a set of cards that explain multiple different types of scenarios being worked on for a film project. For example, a scale-size miniature of New York City will be built, would be a special effect, while an actor wearing a motion capture suit in order to track their movements would be an example of a visual effect. This instructional strategy is a simple way for teachers to gauge how much students are understanding the core concepts of the field they are learning. Instructional Materials. The materials that we need for the goal to be completed would be a studio, or somewhere big enough to film, a green screen, a lighting setup, a camera, a computer lab, and the textbook. My plan of action, if unsuccessful, will be to adjust, rework, and redesign the entire sections as needed. Although some plans work on paper, they don't always work applied in the classroom or in the real world. Thus, instructional strategies, quiz questions, and lectures should always be requalified and evaluated at the end of class. Conclusion. Overall, I think that this design plan accomplishes the goal of creating a variety of real-world situations in which the student works alone and in a group and assesses their knowledge of the field. I believe that my design plan is beneficial to my learners by taking them on a journey of lower processes like understanding and remembering the industry jargon to higher processes of application like setting up a green screen and editing a background. What I have learned from carrying out the instructional design process is that by carefully organizing one's thoughts 1 week at a time, we're able to create something that wouldn't seem possible at the beginning. Thank you.